Before I begin my top 10 Mythic adjacent action figure lines, I just want to shout out a few lines that are not actually released yet that I think if I had made this video 6 months, 12 months later, they probably would have made the list. First up is the Armies of Ashmore, coming out very soon. Next is Brutal Realm, that just had a Kickstarter recently, so that get a little while on those. I think those are going to go really well with Mythic Legions. Heroic Signatures, that's the owner of the Conan brand. They're coming out with a new line, and they're comic-based, based on the current comic run. Conan looks phenomenal. I cannot wait to see that. And I know Eamon O'Donoghue was working on that, and he worked on the Frazetta Girls stuff, so it's going to be nice. And then also Biblical Adventures, particularly like the demons, the angels, those types of things from Biblical Adventures. Another line that should be dropping pretty soon. And then finally, Cursed Realm. The Kickstarter is currently up now for Cursed Realm. Those figures look awesome, and those are going to slide right in with the kind of demonic side of Mythic Legions. Okay, let's get into this thing, and I just wanted to shout out all of the members of the Mythic Legions Cabal who kind of helped me put this together. I don't collect everything on here, and I wanted to get just a feel for what people's favorites were and what's popular and stuff. So that actually helped me make this list. Some of it is stuff that I like. Some of it is based around like how compatible or visually similar or spiritually similar and so on. So that's kind of how I went about making this list. And all these photos, most of these photos are from members of the Cabal. So check out the, the mentions right below the images, and you'll see who took those photos. So number 10, I think a lot of people are going to take issue with seeing this on the list, and I was actually not really thinking about putting it on there, but so many people love these Plunderlings that I had to put it on here. It's a super popular line for Legions collectors. It kind of falls into that cartoony, wacky kind of side of things where you might get that from the Motu tributes and stuff. But I think spiritually, with all of the little swappable parts that they have, and just the fact that it's goblins, and I think it's almost like, it's not mythic adjacent, it's like mythic goblin adjacent, these Plunderlings. So those are in there at number 10. At number 9, if you're looking for mounts for your Mythic Legion stuff, I don't think you could really do much better than the D20 figures. They did the wolf and they did the boar. Now, the one thing is they're pretty expensive, and sometimes you can find them on clearance, but they're kind of pricey. My favorite, I actually do kind of prefer the boar. I think the boar is so cool. Like the wolf is huge. It's bigger than a Mythic Legions horse, essentially. But they do look really good. They're painted nicely, and they look really good with Mythic Legions figures. So if you're interested in picking up some mounts, look for those. Maybe look for those on sale on like Big Bad Toy Store sometimes. But those D20 mounts are pretty damn sweet. At number 8 is MedyToys, aka Memory Toys. They do the World of Warcraft style orcs, and I'm not the biggest fan of that, the World of Warcraft kind of look of everything, but they also have some beasts and what. They have a bear, and they are going to get me with their goblins. I know those are World of Warcraft, but they have those goblins have a look that I really like, and I think they're going to go really well with the Mythic Legions goblins. I think they're going to be sized just right as well, right at that 5-inch mark. So at number 8 is MedyToys, aka Memory Toys, and we should probably add in here the various Hong Kong producers who seem to have a lot of like overlap, and there's a lot of companies that it's hard to say if they're one company or separate or working together or how it is. Maestro Union is one of them that probably could have made the list and kind of like maybe slotted in here, as well as Bro Toys, which I've seen a lot of, and they do the World of Warcraft style. And I feel like I've seen Memory Toys and Bro Toys mentioned as possibly being the same company. And there's a few others out there, but that's just kind of like this independent Hong Kong conglomerate, I guess, of like toy makers that seem to have overlap. I know 5K Toys and VC Toys Box sell a lot of these from these companies. So just thought I would kind of bunch these together at number 8 alongside Memory Toys. Number 7 is NECA D&D. I know a lot of people collect Mythic Legions specifically because they, as a kid, loved Dungeons and Dragons or loved Lord of the Rings or something like this. So this is one of the licensed, pre-established worlds and characters that I think makes a lot of sense to be Mythic adjacent. These figures have a lot of a lot of detail like Mythic Legions. Like it almost, if Mythic Legions was going to do a Warduke, I feel like it would kind of have this aesthetic to it. It might not have the proportions and the same construction and engineering and stuff, but it would feel probably along the same lines of detail as this. And they do run a little bit bigger than Mythic Legions. They're closer to that true like 7-inch scale. But once you start mixing them in with the non-human Mythic Legion stuff, it really starts to make a lot of sense and they look great together. So yeah, NECA D&D in there at number 7. In at number 6 is Icon Collectibles by the Frazetta Girls. This line takes Frank Frazetta paintings and turns them into action figures, which is like, just the concept alone is a perfect match for Mythic Legions. And then, you have characters from Fire and Ice done in the painting style. So, it's a little closer to Legions than say like if they had done it like cartoon style. And then you have the Norseman, a painting from Frazetta that just released. They're doing a Conan figure, and I know that they've been working on improving articulation and pushing things forward and not just relying on the same formula. So pretty cool line. They have that same kind of level of detail that I think matches well with Mythic Legions aesthetically and size wise as well. They look pretty darn good next to Legions. At number 5, it's got to be the number one most photographed thing that people do with Mythic Legions, and this is the Mezco Conan. And it's not just one figure. This is now a line of figures. I mean, they've done 3 that are already out, and they've already teased an Arnold Conan. So this is a subline of Conans from Mezco Toys. And while they are a little smaller, I think they still do lend themselves really well to photographing with Legions because scale almost doesn't matter when you're doing photography. It's, everything's posed up and stuff like that. When you put it side by side in neutral pose on a shelf, yeah, they're probably going to be a little short, especially if you want it specifically to be a Conan character. And he's all shorter than all the other humans. It's he's should be bigger, but aesthetically and like the weapons, like all of the weapons and the gear, there's a lot of stuff that you can mix and match with Legions. You can even, if you want to do a little modifying, you can swap the heads and stuff. So yeah, I would say that the Mezco Conan has to be one of the most popular lines. It's a little lower on my list just because of the scale wise. Like it's a little, he's a little short. But otherwise, I think like this probably could have been a number 1 on the list. It's also one character essentially. Like there's not a huge ton of variety in there. But yeah, this Mezco Conan figure is something else. It is an amazing figure, especially that King Conan. Like that one is even better than all the rest. So Mezco Conan line in at number 5. At number 4, it's AxyToys Dinosaur Battlefield. They have their smaller dinos, which are cool. And I think, like a lot of the gear and all that stuff mixes well. And they look good with Legions, but to me, it's all about that T-Rex. And then I think on that same body, they have now for pre-order a Triceratops, I believe, maybe something else on that big body, but that big chunky T-Rex body is what does it for me. That thing is awesome. If you like big chunky ogre scale figures and you're looking for other stuff to put in and mix in with that, I highly recommend that T-Rex. Or if that's sold out now, then go pre-order the Triceratops or whatever the heck is on that body next. So AxyToys, they are great. The weapons alone, just like taking some of those weapons and putting them with Mythic Legions ogre scale figures, which I gotta say, kind of lacking in the weapons, but mixing those in is really nice. In at number 3, Savage Crucible came on to the scene in 2024 with their Lemurians, their lizard people. And this is a line that actually has a lot of the painters, sculptors, customizers from the old MAFC Mythic Legions days now kind of actually working on this line and developing this line. So spiritually, it's going to definitely fit in there. You're going to have a lot of sculpture and paint work that's going to match really well with Legions. I do think that once we start seeing the next couple waves, the fish people wave, the piranhoids, right? And then you got the barbarian wave and so on, you're going to start to see this climb up the list and probably start approaching the number 1 spot in, later this year into next year. Like if I were going to do this list towards the end of this year, could be higher up even than number 3. At number 2, Animal Warriors of the Kingdom from Spiro Toys, who have, I think at this point, solidified a very strong position in the independent fantasy toy line range. I think that they are kind of like leaders in that community, and they are putting out some really high quality figures with some awesome articulation. They are a little bit on the more colorful side. So if you're more into like the Masters of the Universe tributes and the more colorful Legion stuff, some of these can even fit kind of like more into Cosmic Legion. So these are almost in between Mythic and Cosmic. But to me, I mean, this has to be the most popular line of figures that people collect that also collect Legions. So very, very high up on my list. Awesome, awesome figures. And they got some new waves coming up with some really cool new figures that are, just so sweet and just a lot of fun variety. And so that's my number 2, Spiro Toys Animal Warriors. And number 1, Xesray Studio. I gotta say, it was the Minotaur wave that really, kind of launched these guys into the front of the line with this stuff. They are simultaneously, I think, perfect matchup, like aesthetically with Legions. They fit in really well with it size-wise and scale-wise. They have a nice range of different figures. Now, these are gladiatorial figures. If your Legion stuff doesn't lean towards the gladiator area and arena type stuff, this maybe isn't for you. I'd say the Minotaur would totally be something that doesn't necessarily have to be like gladiator, but they do have a female body. They have male bodies. They have centurions, like legionaries and stuff like that. Just a lot of really cool stuff, and sized pretty much perfectly with Legions. Aesthetically, they match well. And then you could even like mix and match some of the parts with them. There's just a lot here that feels almost like it's tailor-made to be something to supplement the Mythic Legions line. These are fantastic figures, and I think I honestly think if anybody's just looking for big, chunky, awesome Mythic adjacent figures, those Minotaurs are pretty much perfect. That'll do it for my top 10 Mythic adjacent action figures. Let me know in the comments below what I missed, what you would put at a different spot, what you would leave off the list, what you would add to the list. Thanks for watching, and until next time, may the Force be with you.